let's take a look at some very hard issues, some real tough ones. We have people that are deeply concerned that they're claiming that there are some people that are coming to America and wanting to become citizens, and in some cases becoming citizens, and then they want to run around and say, death to all the Jews, death to all the black people, death to all the white people, whatever it is that they're going to say. And then they'll say, well, we should steal all this stuff away from these people and take it away because they don't deserve to have it. And someone else walks up and says, how long have you been in the country? And how is it that you claim that you're a victim entitled to compensation? Now, this brings about some interesting viewpoints because there are prerequisites. The prerequisite to become an American citizen is you must be loyal to the Constitution of the United States. This basically is a series of philosophies and mindsets that are actually quite big. So, if you have people that come to this country that are not loyal to the Constitution, you could say, okay, well, what does this mean? Oh, well, this person came here and they became a citizen and then their thing is to rape and murder young girls. Okay, their citizenship is gone. They can no longer be a citizen. Would this be a fair thing? Would this be correct? You know, basically, I mean, if you do a contract with somebody and they violate the contract, basically the contract is kind of sort of null and void, and there can be repercussions. You know, I mean, if somebody contracts to buy a car and then they say, man, I'm just going to never pay these people anything, and they keep the car forever, they're kind of committing a crime there, right? Right? You know? I mean, if they said, oh, well, look, this thing's a lemon. Look at all of these problems. Well, gee, that'd be a different story. You got all these videos, you got these mechanics, you know, you got an attorney that could step forward and say, hey, look, there's these issues. That'd be different. That'd be different. So usually this stuff becomes civil matters. It can be a criminal one, but it usually becomes a civil matter. It's like, hey, yeah, you know, something wrong with these people. So there can be various reasons to understand, you know, what is the deal, what is the contract, and how big is the contract? You know, what's the deal? You know, I mean, somebody says they want to become American citizens, and then they come to this country and they say, oh, we're going to burn down buildings and we're going to burn babies alive in hospitals. You know, would that still be somebody that can be a citizen? I'd have to say no, never ever again could that person ever be a citizen. That they're done, that's it, it's over with. You know, I mean, serial killers, you know, they're cannibal. We discovered they killed 17 people. Again, done, right? No-brainer? No-brainer here, right? Yeah. So there's a lot of ways to look at some of these things and say, well, what is fair? What is fair? And this can get confusing because some people want to include every teeny, tiny, eeny, weeny thing, and they get into their personal viewpoints that aren't necessarily a constitutional constant or a constitutional item, or an item that was considered self-evident. There's a lot of self-evident stuff that seems to be fading away from being self-evident. So there's a dilemma. We have a dilemma here, you know. Let's look at some different aspects. What if we said, should some people be vested above other people? Some people go, well, that's a caste system. Well, hold on a minute. Hold on 1 minute. The description on caste systems might almost sound like it fits a description involving vested people. But there can be differences. For instance, you have some people that are stewards. There's a difference between people who are stewards versus people who are not stewards and people who are, well, criminals. So let's consider this a little further. Let's look at this a little bit further and say, well, what kind of people can be vested? You know, well, what about people who have one or more relatives that date back 150 years or more? Obviously, this would include pretty much the American Indians. There'd be no doubt on that one. And what if we look at land acquisitions? You know, the land purchases. You know, we've got Louisiana, Alaska. The list goes on and on. You can look it up on Google, and there's all these land purchases. And comparatively, these lands were purchased for peanuts. They really were. They were purchased for peanuts. It was a buyout to get certain people out of saying that they had an interest in the area. Now, first of all, if we set on the table the logic here and say, well, about these lands that were purchased, were there like some people like already living there? You know, like kind of sort of occupying some of the properties already? And I think again, it comes back to we need to be honest about the truth on some of this. Because it's kind of sort of like right there. It's like, call out the archaeologist, dig around. Is there any evidence of people that have been here before? Yes. So, yeah, I mean, okay. We got some no-brainer activity here where there's some obvious points that make sense. Now, but we're in the modern age. So let's look at a couple other aspects. Let's understand that basically there seems to be this problem with data. There's a problem with knowledge fading away. Books are being destroyed. Records are being destroyed. And we're missing things. You know, it's harder and harder to get a hold of quality information. I don't know if anyone's noticed that it seems like it's, you know, getting harder and harder to get a hold of quality information. And you can't get through to historical documents. They should be all digitized. They should have been all digitized by the end of the Bill Clinton administration. They were pretty much supposed to be. And somehow something didn't happen, and people want to monetize and say, yeah, you know, you the people do not have the right to get at the word of the nation. Wait a minute, that's unconstitutional. Wait a minute, you know. So, you know, setting these things off on the shelves, you know, these are things that we can pick off the shelf, bring it back over the table, discuss these various matters, add to them. Different people can bring in valid points all along the way. And then we go, okay, well, we've updated it. Let's put it back on the shelf right now and keep working with this. Now, I'm going to say flat out, okay, that there's a lot of support to say that people were asked, would you pay more taxes for a while so we could do this land purchase? Okay, beyond the shadow of the doubt, that was a fact in concrete, so to speak. And there were more facts beyond that. There were people who were promised things. In other words, you're all going to get paid back for this extra money. For 9 out of 10 people, that never happened. We do have some people that apparently got some land rights on certain things. And then we have different levels of understanding. We have, how about this one? Basically, people were promised there was a deal done. Yeah, you'll get paid back, and you're going to basically get stock. Your business partners in this. Your business partner, you're going to get stock. It's a business deal. It's a purchase. It's a business deal. And you're going to get residuals. Residuals. Apparently, for 9 out of 10 people, that didn't happen either. And then you'll hear some arguments where they go, well, where the hell is that information? Well, again, we got to bring out a lot of historians, and all of a sudden, people want to argue, so we got to say, no, well, wait a minute. I mean, what makes sense, Are you going to put money into a business deal and not get any money in return? Now keep this in mind, while the other people say, well, yes, we're going to be chicken H, we're going to be chicken S with this, and some people get land, lots of land, and other people get nothing. And, we're going to take stock ourselves, and we're going to take residuals and give them to ourselves. The government did that. The government just started taking money from mineral extractions. They just started taking all these cuts. Wrong. All those cuts should have went divided out and gone to the people. It was a business deal. I mean, after all, in comparison, this land, the purchase effectively is almost comparative to peanuts. This is next to nothing. Go look at the records of this stuff. So, the people should have got stock. The people should have been getting residuals. The people should have got what was apparently promised, little portions of land. And this was supposed to end up getting divided up until the year 2500, to the year 2500 is what our forefathers had figured out at one time. I believe I had reference to that historically in the archive. And it's hard to find some things. Try to find a lot of references on the web, and you just can't necessarily find it. Archiving is becoming more and more valuable. Accurate archiving. So we've looked at these things. We put some on the shelf and pulled it out, put it on the table, updated it, put it back on the shelf, pulled it back out, updated, back and forth we go. Now let's say, well, what about we consider and say that, yeah, this land was purchased for peanuts, all these lands, and how about we look at it this way and say, how about every citizen that has one or more family members that dates back 100 or 50 years or more would somehow be connected to this business deal? I think that's perfectly fair. I think that any court of law would look at it and say, well, yes, these people are connected to a business deal. So who would those people be? Who would that list of people be? Now consider people that don't have lineage that goes back 150 years or more would fit in a different category. So this is where we're at. This is a barrier. This is barrier number one. Let's call this barrier number one. Although it may not be barrier number, we're going to call it number one. So who's there? What's the no-brainer? Well, obviously the American Indians were here. I think that's a no-brainer to start off with. So, and then you have all these other people that were here, and this means that all of these people collectively participate in things, they shed their sweat, they shed their blood, they lost their body parts, they served the military, some of them, they lost their lives. I call this a form of vestation. This is vested. These are people who are vested at a special level. So why wouldn't these people be guaranteed residuals? And why wouldn't these people be guaranteed stock? This is to say that as land sales or handouts occur, that there should be some kind of consideration. let's say somebody says, yeah, we want to extract $87 billion in minerals. Gee, that's kind of sort of a lot of money. You're talking about residuals. You're talking about forms of stock. Now, some people may not like that idea, but I want you to keep in mind that some people might say, we're going to go out and do the mineral deal, and, you know, it changes over the years. I mean, you had areas where, you know, 80 to 1 shot. Oh, you're going to find gold and strike it rich. 80, 100 to 1 shot in some areas. No guarantee on that at all. No guarantee of return on your investment. So that's working hard and maybe not getting anything out of it. So if we're realistic, if we consider that people have done things, you know, Alaska, certain other areas, they've said, yeah, you know, we want residuals off of oil. We want residuals off of this. So you've got people in Alaska that have residuals. So, you know, sitting down and discussing this and saying, are there instances that involve minerals that are extracted where some people are enormously successful and the government is taking money and directly putting it in the pocket? How about we say, wrong answer? How about we say, no, we have people that were never paid back who put into this. We've got a big percentage of these people who are vested, and they deserve to be paid back. They're permanent investors. They invested cash into this program. You know, they risked their neck into this program. They were indigenous to the area to begin with. You know, all of these wonderful arguments. So if we say from a modern standpoint that this business that somebody wants to say, oh no, you can't share this with any of those people. Okay, let's do the math on that. You say no sharing or no percentages. You're saying there's no business deal. You're saying people didn't invest. And okay, hold on. Wait a minute. Let's jump to the punchline. Under that mind thought, who owns the land and who owns the minerals? Where's this going? Hello, where is this going? You know, all of a sudden we're at a circus and there's a bunch of people in clown suits running around, sticking their hand in a bag of peanuts and slinging them out loose, just little loose peanuts all over the place. Here they go on the ground, you know, your kids can jump and grab them for you. I have a serious problem right here. Serious problem. Because we have people, in my view, that are clearly vested. And I'm saying, why don't we be realistic about this just for one moment, and let's make a category that we're going to say is anyone who has lineage that goes back 150 years or more. And all of these people are vested. All these people are vested. What does this mean? This means these people should be entitled to, at the very least, small amounts of land. Yes. And they should be, well, as those stockholders, they should get stock on some of these business deals that happen. Collectively, they're helping to facilitate, this investment helped to facilitate business deals. So there's stock there. I'm going to say there's stock, and there needs to be residuals. So this has to be on the table, and that's a lot of negotiating to figure out. That's a lot of work to figure out. But let's just say that for a moment that we were going to come up with percentages and say, well, what about an even cut residual per citizen? And that kind of makes sense. You know, it sounds like some sort of fairness. So, yeah, let's do this. You know, let's work out the smaller details, and let's deal with this and say we need to respect people. We need to say, yeah, there's a whole bunch of people here. They're vested. They're vested. So you can have a lot of people talk about reasons why some people should be divested. You know, yeah, these people over here, yeah, they murdered 200 Chinese people. How should they be vested? It's a good point, actually, to say, yeah, you know, we've got all of these horrible examples of things that have happened, and like, yeah, maybe some of these people, you know, mass murder, you know, that should disqualify you from being vested, maybe, you know, thinking, yeah, you know, at least some of them, at least for a while. So we have to be reasonable about this. So, I mean, I'm saying that there could be reason that some people could be divested of their vestation or part of their vestation. So now there's a lot of people that are saying, yeah, that's right. And there's a lot of people saying, no, that's not right. You know, it's amazing over the years when I would bring out this subject, because it's a touchy subject, how many people would say, no, you have to just have everybody equal. You know, whether they became a citizen day before yesterday or whatever. It's the same thing. And it's the same thing as them giving up one of their family members in a war to ensure the future. So you got other people saying, no, it's all belong to the Indians. Y'all need to get out. Just get out. It all belongs to the Indians. You got other Indians that will say, well, personally, we never had a problem with sharing the land. Not that you could own land. You die, land's still there. So what's this business about you own the land when you die? How can you own the land when you're dead? But other than that, sharing space, that wasn't necessarily a problem. Of course, now mind you, killing all of us and taking the prime spot we're using, that's not cool. Mass murder so you can take this green, beautiful little river area we're using. No. That doesn't work. So we're doing something here, I'm going to say that the majority of people that know that they're in the description of the vested territory that I'm talking about are saying, yeah, I'm vested. You got people sitting there going, I served in the military, and you read the Constitution, and I'm telling you, I'm vested. So even if you don't have one of your members of your family going back 150 years, and you served in the military, you're definitely vested. This is not a little kid's kindergarten star that you put on someone's paperwork or their hand or whatever for good morale. These are people who did their dues. So this is about respect. This is about fairness. So I came up with this system to say we got 7 levels of vestation. Some people don't like that. So that's a caste system. Says, no, it's not a caste system. It's a dues system. It's different. It's completely different. Because you got people who have come here and they're on probation. We don't know who they are yet, for sure. They're not even citizens yet. They're trying to become citizens. And we're trying to help them with that. Depending upon what can be done, what can we do, or can we do anything for them? Whatever that answer is. So, if we're looking at certain reasonable areas, we could say, well, what's important overall about any given area of vestation? And I'm going to say the number one constitutional right from the very beginning was 12 and 14-year-olds could build home pretty much like in 2 months, 2 to 6 months. That's about the board equivalent of a 2-bedroom house. So, productivity standpoint, we have to be reasonable. We've modernized everything. And I'm just going to punch it forward here and help you out here without taking 3 hours to just, drag you by the nose and walk you through the numbers and show you the pretty little graphics. It comes out to, when you have 10 houses or so, you're going to rent some out, and then you got extra money and you can hire extra people and keep parlaying that along. The minimum figure for 45 years of work is the equivalent of 480 houses. That's pretty much the minimum. 480 houses. Now keep in mind, that's if you want to work. You get to the point where you say, man, I don't want to work no more. I got 27 houses, and I'm just going to kick it. I'm going to kick it, and I'm going to buy some good booze, and maybe I'm going to grow some weed or whatever. I'm just going to kick it. Well, I guess if that's what you want to do. So that would be a freedom thing. But in all fairness, guaranteeing new construction loans. We're a healthy country. It was part of the original program, and people have forgotten all about it, to back our own citizens. That as the country gets healthier, we're going to back all our own citizens for what? Maximum productivity. Yes, maximum productivity. And we kind of sort of did it before. It was amazing. And that ended up sliding into the War of 1812, and it went a little bit beyond, but that era. And some people had a problem catching on to it. Of course, the paperwork had to be done by hand, and our forefathers were doing the best they could to try to facilitate it the best they could. And of course, there were elected people who also are apparently considered our forefathers that were arguing about the problem. Why are you building warehouses? To store things that we don't need. And they were facilitating trade. It was our forefathers doing a West Indies style type company with our citizens as stockholders and participants. It worked very well. It shocked the world. It brought massive amounts of shipping rushing to the United States. It shocked the world. It shocked, the British were shocked. They started kidnapping sailors off the ships. Shipmasters started having preference because the best economic deal you could make was go to America. Because you could go to America with an empty ship and go up to some of our forefathers and say, I got an empty ship and no money. And say, great. We'll get you all the food you need. We'll get you some money. You can hire some extra hands right here, and we'll fill your ship full of goods. And we've got a couple of leads and some people we want to sell it to, and the remainder that's left over, here you go. Here's a map. We want you to take it to these different places and auction it off. Auction it off, get it done, get back here as fast as you can. We'll fill your ship up again. Welcome to the brilliance of state-sponsored capitalism at its best. It's mind-boggling, absolutely mind-boggling how to work these numbers. So today, there's no excuse to not financially back every citizen, basically. Let's just at the very least say every vested citizen, with being able to borrow money to build their own home. So if you have 7 levels of vestation, that means that we can start off and say that some people are guaranteed money to build 7 homes. Win or lose, they can get a graduated payment loan. Pay themselves to do part of the work. That means they have a job. If they didn't have one before, they got one now. Up to 7 times because they got that kind of vestation. It's a starting point. So this is really good because if you're retired and you in the military, you're having problems with different types of inflation, greed, etc. Graduated payment loan situations can be very attractive, especially if they're on a 30-year schedule, especially if it's with new construction, especially if you're getting the loan wholesale. Yeah, if you're getting the loan wholesale. That's called, we're using the Fed to back our own people to what? to put them at max production and make assets. Keep in mind, the general rule of thumb is that the cost of land, material, and labor is usually about 70 cents on the dollar of what the retail value is. So, in other words, if you were building a $100,000 home, you could build it for 70 grand. So when people are building 300,000 homes that are retail worth $300,000, that gives you the statistic right there. Now the government has a trick. They're like, oh, well, you just invented all this new hard assets. We're going to print money against it. They always have. So this is how the government gets money. Why would they need to tax us? Why do they need to tax us? Hello. This is why my plan is the best plan in history. Once again, to be put in at a new level, where all we're doing is we're guaranteeing people the rights that are already their rights, and say, yeah, we will back you to build your own home. So if they build a $300,000 home, the government gets to print $90,000. This is what makes this so lucrative. It's incredibly solid. The government prints money on that zone between the differential zone between wholesale versus retail, and on interest. If a bank charges interest, they have to know the total sum to be able to print that money, or you can't facilitate trade. This goes way back to our forefathers figuring this out. So if we put all of our people at max production, and you're making two houses a year, two $300,000 houses a year, that means the government would be printing $180,000 off of you, basically off of the representation of this clear new hard asset that needs to have money printed against it. $180,000. So this is why I'm going to be able to pay off the national debt in 3 years. This is the most comprehensive plan ever put forth to deal with both getting people back to work and to work for themselves. Work for yourself. So you can do it part-time. You don't have to quit your job. Don't quit your good job. You got a good job, don't quit your good job. Don't quit your good job. No, you do this part-time then. Oh, you don't have a job? Well, lucky you. You can move forward. You can move forward faster doing this. So, you're going to get part cash, pay yourself part cash, and part of the money you'll realize is in the form of equity. So it's kind of sort of self-perpetuating in many ways. There are a few tricks to it. In other words, no overdevelopment. In other words, if you go into a city and the max value of a 4-bedroom home is $90,000, building a 20-room mansion is really not a good idea. The retail value of that is not going to check out as well as you would hope. So that having been said, basically everybody gets the idea of what's meant there, for the most part, hopefully. So there's the part of the main comprehensive plan. It's far more elaborate than that. Economic modeling, software development, and how you use it and how the whole thing works is a lot of work. It's very elaborate. I'm going to be using 5 of the largest companies out there to primarily do the main horsework. This is not to say that there won't be other work available for other people. I've got substantial, extensive stuff prepared. Of course, it would really help getting the archive back. There's nothing like national security being violated. 18 mobile broadcast RV vehicles basically lost. Oh, except they're all being tracked on SAR. But we have certain government leaders that are in dereliction of duty. Oh, well, and they're involved in some other very serious criminal activity too, some of them. They don't want to prosecute people who are, attacking candidates, committing acts of war. Items that are directly mentioned in the Constitution of articles, acts of war against the candidate. So the musters and, there are problems here with this. So I'm working with dealing with some of this. And again, this is going to become horribly embarrassing. And more and more people are going to be looking, and they're going to ask, how, my goodness, oh my gee, OMG, how is it these people could keep turning down requests for rational communications repeatedly? How could they turn away from not protecting national security? How could they not do these investigations to see what Russian activity was there when the federal government told certain states, yeah, it's there, it's happening, and they don't want to do anything. So this is a very bad deal. It involves AGs, it involves secretaries of states, and the evidence that I have already is concrete. If we're just looking at California, it's very concrete. And other states look really, really good. I mean, quite frankly, Arkansas is looking like a super AAA model compared to California in many ways. It's really kind of interesting. So this comes out, as I'm dealing with filing more papers and coming up in front of Congress, a lot of simple questions, did you investigate Russian intrusion into elections? No. Okay, but you were told and informed by the federal government that these activities were definitely occurring. But, they're quiet now. But they didn't do anything about it. And then you have candidates that say, look, we have police officers completely fabricating erroneous tickets, harassing candidates. That's like 30 years in a penitentiary max problem. Except some of these candidates, this one here, like myself, I'm an archiver. That's extra time. That's a separate series of charges. Some of the information pertains to national security. Yeah, that's another set of separate charges. So, and then it's like, we've got knowledge in old books. We've got artifacts. The Constitution says, you can't attack archives or museums. That's the death penalty. What are these people doing? And they're like, well, we're not doing it. Yeah, you are. You share in the responsibility. You're attacking the resources of a candidate. That's an act of war. That's again the Constitution, the articles sticking out here. This disqualifies candidates, basically. This is a big deal. So, as it's a big deal, we have to deal with this. We have to deal with the truth. What's the truth? Hey, well, I'm going to tell you right now. See, I can be a willing witness and utilize an fMRI lie detector. These other people, they're not going to fare very well. These people, they're going to put their head in a donut and, have a bunch of pharmaceuticals put in them, Think World War II, truth serum, scopolamine, that kind of stuff. Medical science way further forward. And this has been used before in serial killers and other stuff. The technology, if calibrated properly, works very, very well. People that show tests where it doesn't work well, they're not doing it right. They're not doing the screening, the calibrating long enough. They're not administering the proper amount of pharmaceuticals. They're not doing it right. So, willing witnesses, there's no struggle with that. The willing witness is just going to go zip right through on the evidence. There's going to be all these nice fragments, right away a lot of fragments. And the more you do it, the more fragments, the more cohesive it becomes. So, this becomes very quickly a new form, a new type of definitive truth. Because there can be certain facts that can be verified that just won't quit. So we have little things like we're taking your photo ID away from you. We're taking your photo driver's license. That's a felony. You can't take a photo ID away from a candidate. Especially if they are from out of state. How about that one? Oh yeah, you won't be able to do your banking. Let's just do this to you. It's a felony. They've done it twice. They have no rules that they could possibly stand on because there's other rugs. No matter what argument they construct, I've already got attorneys that say, well, we've got this argument, and these other arguments. There's no rug for them to stand on. They try to stand on a rug, we pull it right out from underneath them. And they'll just go on and on, lying. See, the intent, when we're looking at the criminal intent of these various parties, there's no excuse for it. Many of them already are going to be facing the possibility of the death penalty. This is mandated by the Constitution of the United States. Yet they're not giving rational communications on this. You know, the law says these matters have to be resolved before counting and certification can be allowed. This is the law. This is the Constitution of the United States. The Articles of the United States. This is the real law. And these people, again, they're not cooperating. All these matters must be resolved. Again, this means that I have to be completely paid, completely compensated, that the voters have to be given proper disclosure as to what they did, the crimes that they did, and how they interfered with the course of, well, multiple elections. So this has to happen. So people are going to be able to remember this the further it goes forward. Each and every day that this goes forward, that parties keep holding their tongue about what they are involved in, their dereliction of duty and other crimes, and their continuous intent each day, their renewed continuous intent to continue forward with criminal intent and not do the right thing. You know, this is, you know, I could lay this out and say it in other ways to understand an entire series of multiple decades of work to build a brand new logical education system. In Los Angeles, which would be the optimum, the $494,000 a year, you might as well call it, not a year, excuse me, a year, over 13 years, that's K through 12, might as well call it $500,000. Would be split, that money would be split into half the money being used as a fund to help them with the most basic level carpentry. So they would be empowered to have jobs that basically would pay more than twice burger flipping, and they would be able to develop homes with their money. They'll end up with $1.2 million in their bank account if they sell them by age 18, by graduation. This is reality. This is the truth. Their skill set will have them bankable at $200,000 a year at that point. That's the scale. That's the future of your children being protected forever. That brings in the new opportunity for new college level participation to be done at one's own pace, to bring forward fantastic educational levels, to bring forward finishing up for quad tech, octatech, if that's what they want to do. A lot of territory there. So it's a crime against humanity as to what happens. So we need to rethink what these government employees and what these leaders have done, what they have participated in. It's more than just anticipating, participating in interfering with the process of elections. You're talking about crimes of humanity being done. We're talking about the forward-moving concept of Americans' dream being destroyed by these people. We're talking about ultra-advanced AI development to build ultra-AI economic modeling software, to understand ahead of time, to understand displacement, how people would be displaced. This is what I had in the archive. 2005-8, my mathematical analysis has, we're going to lose about 80 million jobs by 2025, 2030 for sure. Because of AI, because of upgrading robotics. But guess what? My statistics have figured this out ahead of time. For the most part, we know 10 years ahead of time. 10 years ahead of time. By the way, I'm creating this mathematics. So we can make a smooth transition. We can even upgrade people. We can give them a 3 to 6 week course and upgrade them so they'll get a raise. Crimes against humanity. Destroying the very future of our citizens. Again, we'll have to review and look at the enormity of the crimes these government employees have committed, the crimes that our leaders have committed. So when we have these fantastic harassments, when we have them fabricating false information, transmitting it in government computers, that's a felony. Transmitting across state lines, that's a bigger felony yet again and a separate one. And each day that they do it, day after day, is a separate crime. Every hour that they update the system is a separate crime. It's a separate felony all over again. This is the law. This is the intent of some of these people. They're very serious criminals. But they're going to grandstand falsely. And we're running out of time. I can't even unveil the total depth of what it is like for people to destroy archives. I could suggest and say, can you think what Alexandria might have been? Now maybe some people would say I'm going too far, but there's some big stuff, faster than light communication, so there's some big stuff that I did personally. Understanding biological radio at 2 million channels per human being. Understanding new types of interface systems, custom experiments, fantastic achievements in my lab. But here's the problem. Who wants to invest in 2 million channels? Do you want to build chips to cover 2 million channels of communications? Most people said, we'll pass. Yeah, we're not going to throw you $1 billion to start on that. But times move forward, chips have changed. 20, 30 years have gone by. Things have changed. Now we have people like NVIDIA that might start foaming at the mouth, understanding the advanced mathematical concepts of 20 years of thinking, of working with advanced mathematical concept thinking, and these types of other innovations in interfaces and systems. They might be getting interested. This is where we have to go. I've talked about the cyber problem, the mistakes. We have to build all new chips again. The backdoor situation is unacceptable, but we're running out of time. We're running out of time, and we have to stop people from falsely grandstanding. And we need to know who these people are that have involved themselves in this dereliction of duty, who have intentionally involved themselves in multiple policies that are criminal, that have been perpetuating acts of war against the process of elections, against candidates, committing crimes against humanity, and being cowardly and refusing to punish those people who fabricated information, who blacklisted the very cowardly people They're grandstanders, they're liars. Who's on the list? Secretary of the State of California, the current AG of California, and Kamala Harris, through multiple offices, refused to participate and is in dereliction of duty at the very least. My name is Michael Crosby. I'm running for President of the United States. I identify myself clearly as Democrat, and I have the best plan bar none to repair Social Security and set every American citizen back to work. Put a steak on every table and put multiple homes in your pocket. I thank you for your time. This message been approved by Michael Crosby for President of the United States.